Greetings and welcome to my video of me throwing 70 pots on my 70th birthday, which is today in September 2024. So I've got 70 pieces of clay prepared, made out of 25 kilograms of clay, and I'm going to spend the next few hours throwing them and making beakers. I've been doing this exercise since my early 20s when I cut the piece up into 20 pieces, which were considerably bigger, and I'll end up making thimbles, I suppose. Anyway, here we go. So, piece of clay goes on the wheel head, taps it down, get the hands nice and wet and slippery, and it's the old kick wheel which I've had for over 45 years now, and away it goes. We start off by pushing the clay downwards and inwards to get it stuck onto the wheel head, and then squeeze it sideways to lift it up a bit, to cone it, make it into a lighthouse shape, and that just sorts out the clay and stops it wobbling. And then push it back down again and push in the bottom a little bit so that I've made a shape that I can now turn into a beaker, which is the Bronze Age drinking vessel of choice. So I stick my thumb in the top of it, push down towards the bottom, give it a bit more drink to make it slippery, push my thumb away, squeeze in with a hand on the outside, put my fingers in the inside, pull up and raise the clay, make the pot taller, make the walls thinner, and gradually form the shape. And the beaker traditionally has a belly and then a waist and then a flared rim with a lip on the top. So you can see I'm beginning to build up that shape. I like to cut in underneath a little bit to make the base fairly narrow, and then I start to throw in the more traditional way, like that. Pull the belly out, push the waist in, pull the lip up, and as these pots are only 365 grams, they're not going to be that big, but it makes a reasonable sized drinking vessel, probably more suitable for caffeine based drinks than quaffing mead or ale, but there is a demand for that as well as the quaffing vehicles. Vessels. So that's about the right sort of size and shape. So now I throw downwards just to even out any bumps, like that, and then finally just check, yeah, that's alright, and a sponge out the inside, because I don't want that to be any damper than it needs to be. Go over the lip, smooth that out so it's pleasant to drink from, push the side in a bit, just try and make it slightly smoother on the outside, and then with the cheese wire cut it off, and then lift it off, and there's the pot, and it goes onto the board, and we start again. So how many minutes was that? I'm going to do another one for you now, just to show that it wasn't luck the first time round. So push down, push in, squeeze up, squeeze in, push down, in, lubricate, squish, make the hole, try and get the base of the pot not too thick but not too thin, lift the sides up once, twice, and push the base in a little bit, cut in underneath to get that narrow base, which makes it aesthetically more pleasing. And then push the clay out, up a bit, in a bit, up a bit. Same again. Because all these pieces of clay have been weighed out to within a few grams of each other, I know what sort of size I should be making with each pot, and so I can compare the different sizes. I don't make the pots exactly the same shape, because that would be boring, but I do try and aim for a similar sort of idea, and because I've made hundreds of these pots, I tend to just get into a flow, and I make a collection of different shapes that follow the original Bronze Age beakers in many ways. So the bell beaker traditionally has a sort of shape like this. To maximise the capacity of it, you want a fairly good belly on it at the bottom there, and a narrower top. A lot of people don't like drinking out of something with too wide a top, but also it's quite nice to be able to hold on to the side of the pot when you're quaffing. Certainly if you've got a hot drink, you can get your fingers just underneath the lip and to lift it up. So there's that one, a little bit more sponging, run up the side, and then what will happen now is that these pots will dry out a little bit, stiffen up. I'll put them back on the wheel upside down and very briefly just carve the base away with a throwing tool like this, just to smooth the base out, and then I'll let them dry a little bit more, and then I'll decorate them, which traditionally with these beakers is done with a comb, and I use a wooden comb, push that into the pot to make a pattern, a long line of dots, and then I join up the dots and I make herringbone patterns, and I make patterns that are the traditional sort of patterns that you see on these pots if you look at them in museums and whatever. And there's a range of motifs that I use for these sorts of pots. And I think that's probably enough. You don't really want to see me make all 7, so I'll say goodbye, and thank you very much for watching.